can take possession of your mind, and it refuses to go away, and it proliferates, it creates other related thoughts in your mind. You suddenly become obsessive with something. And some people live like that. They have possessed one particular mind form, and they interpret the entire world through the screen of that mind form. And everything, suddenly they have an explanation for everything because everything is interpreted through that screen. Sometimes it's a mental illness, it gets close to mental illness when you feel paranoid and so on. And everybody suddenly becomes your enemy. So you free yourself from that. Ultimately, without awareness, thinking can, even good things in your mind can very quickly become amplified and turn it into something very unconscious and destructive. So always returning to that deeper dimension. Well, let's start with the first question. Let's see. When it comes to conscious manifestation, my interest at this point is not in manifesting anything for myself personally, but in wanting to help manifest a world that is more peaceful and just for everyone. Can how you teach conscious manifestation help with that? Good question. Relevant. Manifesting a world that is more just, I think that was the word, more peaceful and just for everyone. Well, that would be it's a good aim. Now, ultimately, of course, what you experience as the world is intrinsically one with your consciousness. The only place where you experience the world is in your consciousness. Philosophers have even questioned whether there actually is a world out there independent of conscious perception. We don't need to go there, but there's no doubt that the entire world happens inside you, one could say. You don't know what you see, what the eyes transmit, the senses transmit becomes nerve impulses that are sent to the brain, and that's just on the physical level, and then these nerve impulses are decoded, and then some kind of word appears within you. But to what extent that corresponds to a world out there, we don't even know. So, to change the world, so you look at the world, in some way you could almost go as far as to say, what you're actually looking at is a reflection in the external, in the world of form, of your state of consciousness. It's an interesting way to look at it. And the state of consciousness is partly there's your personal world and there's the collective world. So the two, they are connected, but they're not the same, because first of all, there is what you experience as a world in your personal life, or the people you habitually interact with, where you live, your surroundings. It starts with simple things like even the objects that surround you habitually where you live. So your world is your personal, your relationships with humans that you live with, your relationships with other humans that you meet every day casually, uh, the where you work, the people you work with. So all these things, your personal life, so-called life, is one sphere that you move in. And the important thing is not to neglect that in search of a better collective world. The two are related, but to disregard, this is a mistake that is often made, to disregard your personal sphere, with the world that is immediately accessible to you as you and your life, the people in your life, where you live, all that, your work. To neglect that, it's very seductive to think there's so much wrong with the world out there, the collective. That's really what I should be concerned with, because there's so much wrong out there, you can see it. You just have to turn on some kind of device, whether it's television or that brings you the news and the commentaries, continuous stream, and then, of course, that is the collective world that then enters your living room or wherever you are, and then they get mixed up. They can obliterate, the collective can obliterate your personal life, and you think because it's quite irrelevant now, because what really matters, the world needs to change. It's so dreadful. Well, yes, the world needs to change, and the world is changing because humanity is a work in progress. Humanity is slowly evolving, fits and starts, and regressive periods. It takes a few steps forward, and then a few steps, 4 steps forward, 3 steps back, and a few more forward. There's a gradual evolution of humanity, and to focus only on what is going wrong within that process, that evolutionary process, is also very misleading, because that's what you see when you watch the media and so on. It focuses not on what's going right or what has gone right, it focuses on what's going wrong. Then you give that more and more attention. By giving attention to something, you amplify it. So whatever you give it. Now, I'm not saying to completely ignore the world, no, but to give it an excessive amount of attention and only continuously think about what's wrong with the world, then you forget what's right with the world, and that then diminishes. So we have the external world coming into your living room, for example, through the media. And it can be, as I said, you can sometimes believe that your personal world, your immediate sphere of influence is irrelevant, but that's not the case. So the starting point with changing the world is to become aware of how you operate in this world. The starting point is, how do you relate to the humans in your life? How do you, what is your mind? What is your mind doing? What is your predominant state of consciousness? What are your predominant emotions? What are the predominant thoughts that go through your mind? It's vitally important to become aware of that. If you're not aware of what the predominant emotions are, that the predominant thoughts are, plus accompanying emotions that go through your mind, you are unaware. And the emotions, the thoughts and emotions that arise continuously within you are a form of conditioning, and so they take possession of you. So it's vitally important, as the starting point for changing the world is to become aware of your world. How do you operate in this world? How are your relationships? Is there a lot of antagonism? Is there grievances and a lot of conflict? Are there many people that you hate? Are there more people that you like or love? Is there love, compassion, or not so much? How do you relate to people? How do you relate to strangers that you meet in a shop, in a store? How do you relate to somebody you meet in an elevator? All these things are part of what you manifest as your world. So it's how do you manage, what is the predominant energy that you manifest in your life that affects other humans? This is a very important starting point that, of course, is expressed in the famous saying, be the change that you want to see in this world. Nobody knows who actually said that. Some people say Gandhi said it. He could have said it. But he probably said something similar. I don't think he said that literally, but it doesn't matter. It's a very important pointer, a very important thought. Be the change that you want to see in the world. So change starts with you. And that means your consciousness, your state of consciousness. What is become aware of your mind? What is how much complaining do you do? Useless complaining, not a sort of complaining that can actually bring about change, but useless complaining about other people and groups of people, and pronouncing half of humanity to be evil. Whatever it is, be aware of your mind. Vitally important, what kinds of thoughts are there? And once the ability to become aware of your mind, what kinds of thoughts your mind is producing, once that grows, that means there's more awareness in you, there's more presence in you, another dimension of consciousness has arisen. So be conscious, what do you bring into this world on a daily basis? Do you bring more loving kindness, compassion, other humans, empathy, a kind word, even to strangers? Do you acknowledge every other human being that you meet, even if you meet them only casually? Do you acknowledge the being of that human beyond what role this human plays within that brief interaction? Somebody sells you something, you're asking somebody for information, whatever it may be. So do you acknowledge the beingness of the other, if only for a few seconds, giving it attention? See, there is beyond the personality, there's something deeper. Can you sense the being? Ultimately, it means the sacredness of every human, no matter what their personality displays. Next question is, observe, are you at the mercy of how other people behave around you? Do you react? Or are you at the mercy also of situations or circumstances? Now, what do I mean when I say at the mercy of? It means that somebody is angry at you, the world is full of people who are very angry and frustrated. They may perhaps feel justified in being angry because life is difficult, and so one can always justify anger and frustration and grievances, of course. On a conventional level, often these things are justified. But what do you meet somebody who's angry, says something angry at you, driving, for example. Somebody shouts at you. Are you aware enough not to?
It is the year 2027. A rogue AI called Omniscience has taken over all the major economic and financial systems, causing them
be drawn into the same energy that the other person manifests. Are you able to simply stay clear and present not easy. So how do you, but you can only change the world is by not reacting in the same way in which the world impinges upon you or treats you through humans. So you have to be more aware than that. And so that's the world changes when your state of consciousness is no longer determined by other people's state of consciousness that you may meet. Or that really is a big change already. If your state of your mental emotional state is no longer determined by somebody else's mental emotional state, that's a huge awakening. And there, because as long as your emotional state, mental emotional state, is determined by somebody else's mental emotional state, that in Eastern terms, it means it's a perpetuation of karma. So there's no freedom in that. So you can, if somebody is nice to you, you're nice to him or her, okay. But if somebody is not nice to you, what happens? Jesus was talking about something similar. It's easy to be nice to someone, Jesus said, this is a big paraphrase because I don't remember literal passages from the Bible. Jesus said, it's easy to be nice to others who are nice to you, but what about those that are not nice to you? That's what really matters. It doesn't mean, of course, that you become a doormat or you don't have nothing to do with that. In fact, there's a great inner power and strength that arises when you're no longer continuously reactive. That is really weakness.